is an iPhone.
iPhone?
Uh-huh.
Hello? Hello? There's nobody there.
Get some Mo.
Spread out. Mind your P's and Q's.
Don't forget to dot the I's.
Certainly.
Larry.
He's got a headache.
No, I don't.
How about now?
Yeah, it's coming on.
And Curly.
This little light of mine.
Hey, guys. Yeah.
Oh, hiya, Sister Bernice.
There's something different about you. Did you get a haircut?
From 20th Century Fox.
You got any dynamite? Come here.
The Three Stooges.
Hello, once again. This is the one true Omni Gamer, Boss Bronze, and you're in for another movie review. Of course, this is Boss Bronze, True Backlash,
and Blue,
coming to you live from an undisclosed location somewhere in North America. And we just got done seeing The Three Stooges. So, how does the Three Stooges movie hold up? I mean, some people said, oh, it's going to be the best thing ever. While others say, oh, no, it can't be. It won't follow the traditions of the original show to the T. Everything has changed. Reality has changed. How does it stack up? Well, I'd say it is not bad. I definitely got a good few laughs out the deal. But, what do you two think?
Well, let's put it this way. It was a good movie. It was very faithful to the original shorts. It set in modern times, so they had to spice up the gags a bit. But one thing you can tell for darn sure, if you've watched Dumb and Dumber and there's something about Mary, you could tell this is a Farley Brothers movie. Even if they dumbed it down for little kids to watch, it's wow. I mean, some of the stuff just wow. It's a Farley Brothers movie plus Three Stooges movie equals holy crap. But it honestly was good, and there was a little bit more to the movie than just the gags. Not much more than it would have been boring, but it was a nice little element that they threw in that made me enjoy the movie a little bit more.
Blue?
Well, I actually did not want to come because I saw more than my share of Three Stooges in my lifetime. I thought I saw every form of Three Stooges, from Three Stooges costumes at Halloween to Three Stooges television shows, shorts and movies, over and over again. So there was very little I felt that could be gained in a positive way going to see the Three Stooges done in a feature full-length movie. However, I was pleasantly surprised. I actually have seen variations of different third character. There was always a Mo, and it was always a always a Larry. But very often, there was a different character playing either Curly, a different character playing Shemp, a different character playing yet another one that I can't recall.
Probably Curly Joe.
Well, Curly Joe was the original Curly, right?
No, he was a different Curly.
Different Curly? Yeah, right. So, it was like you kind of wanted to keep that same original Curly, Larry, and Mo when you saw the Three Stooges. But instead, you got 2 plus. It was always a plus one. But when I saw the movie, I thought the actors who played the roles did a fantastic job. I was really pleased to find out that the Curly guy actually really did remind you of the original Curly. Larry, you could clearly see it wasn't the same Larry, but he pulled it off nonetheless. And Mo, strikingly, did a lot of voice tones and similar body styles and mannerisms that the original Mo was. So it was entertaining.
I gotta admit, the Three Stooges, it was a little before my time. So I doesn't have the experience as Blue obviously had.
Before my time, I just do good research. sir.
Right. Anyway, it was sort of before my time, but I took a slight crash course watched a few episodes, seeing what the big deal was. It was funny. Old as heck, but funny still. So, I walked into the movie with a little reference under my belt. And I gotta admit, the Three Stooges, played by the current actors I don't know, actually did well for themselves.
Well, let's see. The actors who play the Stooges would be Chris. Let me see. I'm trying to pronounce the name. Chris Diamantopoulos. Yeah, he's Greek descent. Yeah. Basically, you don't know who that is. That's a Greek actor a Greek Canadian actor. Excuse me. Basically, he's been playing more or less. He isn't known all that well. He's been playing, like bit roles or supporting character roles on television. Like, he was the gay fashion designer on the Starter Wives, the series. Yeah, that was on USA. Let's see, he guest voiced on American Dad once. Yeah, that's pretty good.
What exactly?
It doesn't say on the Wikipedia. And he was also the chief of staff, Rob Weiss, on the 9th season of 24 for the president. So that's probably that was probably his biggest claim to fame by far. The other two were pretty much well known. The first one being there's a goose. The first one being for me is Will Sasso, who's a stand-up comic. He's been on the show Mad TV for a number of years.
Which one did he play?
He was Curly.
Ah.
Chris Diamantopoulos, excuse me, sir. That was Mo.
Okay. Probably Demontopoulos.
Demontopoulos. That sounds about right. So Will Sasso was a comic and a major contributor to the show Mad TV. He's also done a couple sitcoms as well.
And a wrestling fan, if I recall.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll get to the part where the Stooges are on Raw in a second, but basically he had a whole feud with Bret the Hitman Hart back in the WCW days. And that was pretty much his claim to fame, except for Mad TV. The last guy is probably the most famous of them all, the guy who played Larry, Sean Hayes. He played Jack from Will and Grace, the show on NBC.
I'm kidding. He sounded familiar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
And then, that shocked more people than me. And honestly, the way these guys transformed themselves was very good. They were on Monday Night Raw. This is where I first got in. I don't watch too much Three Stooges. I've watched a short here or there when I'm having insomnia. But the minute I see them interact with this pro wrestler named Santino Marella, and how they were doing all these one-liners, these jokes, these gags, and how fast they were doing it, how well their timing was, how good they can work with someone like Santino when doing all this stuff. I knew this movie was going to be good, or it was going to be interesting. So, that's all I needed to see to get me geared up for this.
Blue, you want to add to anything?
Actually, I thought, just in retrospect, the original Curly and this gentleman, Will Sasso, the role of Curly, I mean, the guy is a big guy, and it's an extremely athletic role that the actors have to play. I mean, they do everything from modified breakdancing to rapidly falling down and bouncing right back up. I mean, they both do it very well. That's one of the things I always gave credit to the original role of Curly. He was, even though a big guy, you would never really realize that, he was as big because of the way he moved. I mean, he was extremely agile, and Will Sasso brought that to the role as well.
So what's the story? The story, hope you don't mind me starting off, Brahms?
Oh, no. Backlash. You always got the story at the things.
Alright, so the story starts off like this. The Three Stooges live in an orphanage. Without spoiling too much, one of them was going to get adopted. But they decided they didn't want to be adopted without the other two. So the one of them returned back to the orphanage and stay with the other two for 25 years. And ever since, they've been causing all sorts of craziness at the orphanage. Never getting adopted, hoping they get adopted. They even have a little spiel to when they get someone that seems to be interested, more or less. But they're still hanging around all these nuns, lots of famous nuns. Supermodel Kate Upton, American Idol's Jennifer Hudson, Curb Your Enthusiasm Larry David, yeah, he's playing a chick. Sue Sylvester from Glee, just today the main ones. And when it's been found out that the orphanage is closing, it's up to the Stooges to get the money to keep it open. And, since they never interacted with adults their own age or really been into the outside world outside of the orphanage, except for that one time where that one Stooge, when he was a kid, got to, part of the road and then drove right back, they don't know how much the world has changed. Their style is old school. Their mannerisms are old school, if not a bit Stoogish. That's where most of the humor comes from. And, it's a world that is definitely not ready for their kind of chaos. No, it's not. Blue?
Well, I found that they had to find a way to justify the whole Three Stooges lifestyle and the whole Three Stooges understanding. I mean, we all live in modern day where you have computers via iPads, iPhones, smart devices at your fingertips. It's kind of hard to be a stooge today, no matter how hard you try. I mean, even if you just look at TV every now and again, I mean, you're going to absolutely really have a tough time trying to present the Stooges of yesterday in today's world. But I think they pulled it off pretty good in the movie,
I have to agree with that. I mean, in today's world, there's a lot of seriousness going on. The economy is getting better, but not as good as it used to be. Rampant dissent from various peoples. And here we got three goofy, crazy antics from these guys who seem to be made out of silly putty and Stretch Armstrong stuff, because they are going wild and crazy just because they had a misunderstanding. You don't even get to see this kind of physical comedy anymore.
No.
But somehow these three brought it back, and I am impressed. Also, am I impressed with the secondary characters? Spoiler alert. That Old Spice guy? The one that says, "Hello, ladies. Back at your bed. Now back to me. Now back at your bed. Now back to me." He is in this movie. He's not hawking the Old Spice product, but he's still just as entertaining. And, sadly, ladies, he still has a shirt on.
Oh, but there is eye candy I'll tell you about later.
Don't get me started with that.
Okay, we'll talk later.
Oh, yeah, we will. We'll talk about that later.
Well, then don't forget to mention that you got the troop from the Jersey Shore, which, you're thinking, no, they will totally ruin the Three Stooges movie. Well, they didn't. I can't go into detail about what they do, but, they really impressed me. They probably got better acting chops than I gave them credit for, even Snooki,
Well, I don't want to go into that quite yet, but that's something I'll address later on. And, let's just start with the goods, which we can probably address right now. This is a pretty funny movie. They try to shoehorn in a few storylines for the Stooges, like, what are the Stooges going to do? You have a good act now. How are you going to use it in today modern society of storyline and leading and timing and exposition? I mean, the Three Stooges shows, they would just be sent to do something, and they, from some A source, and expect it to be done by B time, and the Stooges not only followed up, but they followed up so bad, it's funny for about a good 15 minutes of a show. You can't quite do that with a movie. You have to have a purpose and planning and plot and all sorts of that. But they do seem to make it work. They even separated into 3 acts, which I really enjoyed. I mean, just like you're watching the old TV show, except not black and white. Also, I like the secondary characters. The secondary characters brought a little life to their own. Not quite as dynamic like the Three Stooges themselves, but like my brother said before, they bring a little something. The Larry Davis character is quite hilarious. I didn't think he had quite the range to pull it off. I watched Seinfeld and I watched the Larry Davis show. Like Seinfeld, the Larry Davis show was just okay. But his role in this movie, pretty special. And like Backlash also said, I don't really want to explain how the Jersey Shore cast fits in with the Three Stooges movie, but let's just say that any and all disagreements anyone could ever have about this movie, having the Three Stooges abuse Jersey Shore cast makes it all worth it.
Go ahead, Blue. I'll let you go.
Well, you know, in terms of the good, I think for me, the single most thing that just stuck out as a pro is the fact that it pretty much was seamless Three Stooges. You could watch a Three Stooges from back in the day film clip and then watch the modern day Three Stooges in this movie, and you still felt that you were dealing with the same three characters. I mean, of course, you know, there were some touches of updated modifications made to accommodate the plot lines, but that never detracted from the role of the characters. You know, I really had, like I said, reservations about going to see the movie because it just wasn't up to just pure slapstick for the sake of slapstick, seeing a bunch of guys run around in their mid-30s or later doing all these things that just are typical Three Stooges. I just didn't see how that was going to be entertaining. But that was not at all what it was. It was all fun, just basic fun. A lot of it was funny. Some of it was just standard. I mean, but you would expect to see that if you're going to go see Three Stooges. Overall, I thought the pros were the actors. They contributed so well to the role of the Three Stooges, and that was what made it worth it for me.
Well, I gotta tell you that about the first and foremost thing I can say that I liked was the fact that almost all the characters were very likable. You didn't have a reason not to like any of these characters. Chris, Sean, and Will played their parts to the frickin' hilt. They did very well. They didn't overplay their parts, and I know that's kind of impossible, seeing the subject matter. They didn't make them unlikable. They were perfect. All the supporting characters, all of them, and even we're talking about the Jersey Shore, they were all likable. They, you know, you couldn't hate the Jersey Shore people. I can't believe I'm saying that. But you couldn't hate the supporting characters. You couldn't hate anyone that made a cameo or a small bit role. And the only people that you could hate were the villains. And that's good in a movie. You didn't hate them because you didn't like them. As in the movie, you hated them because they were the villains. You clearly, I mean, the Farrelly brothers clearly knew what they were doing with this movie. And, I mean, you know, just to sound like a broken record, it was a slapstick. It's a Three Stooges movie. It does so well what other movies didn't. The Last Airbender failed because it gave you the story for the most part, but it didn't give you the charm of the Nickelodeon show. Street Fighter failed because it gave you a lot of action, but it didn't stick to the story. This movie gave you good story elements that you can believe came from Three Stooges shorts, and it gave you the slapstick to go along with it. And it's not always perfect, but it was very, very well done. Well, those are pretty good goods, but let's see how the bad stacked up. Well, I gotta admit to myself, and no disrespect to you, Backlash, but I didn't think the villains were strong enough. Oh, sure, they had the female, the fatale female? Femme fatale.
Thank you. Femme fatale. She was definitely hot enough, and she did have a killer instinct a little, but the male bad guy lead was kind of the fourth stooge. He was the Shemp. And not in a funny way. It was kind of a... Thank you. that was kind of like in a sad way. I mean, he if he wasn't getting beat up, obliterated, and getting chewed on, he in fact was chewing the scenery. It was almost like he had no purpose in the whole scheme of it. And the second thing, and again, this might be contrast to, all 3 or 4 episodes of the Three Stooges I actually watched before watching this movie. But the fact is, I don't believe that the Three Stooges went far enough. I could have watched the whole movie just seeing them doing ridiculous stuff, doing odd jobs, being silly, a lot of punishment involved. But, they were clearly competing with the story of, you'll see why when you watch the movie. And I wanted to see Stooges act like Stooges, not try to get the obtainable goal 0x70b we've seen about 1 million times. I wanted to be entertained, and I was entertained for the most part, but I felt that their comedic, the team that they somehow infused with almost the very essence of Stooge, do these rather mundane things at times, made me kind of left wanting. Lady, gentlemen?
Well, there's not too much bad for me. I gotta say, some of the gags, and I'm saying some, but it's more like a 70-30 ratio, and that 70's definitely the good gags. Some of the gags fell flat, okay, this is going to have to be a spoiler. It's not a major spoiler. It involves...
Major spoiler.
Spoiler! You guys. It involves a hospital and baby pee. Tons and tons of baby pee. It started off good enough, if you can say that about baby pee, and then it just kept going and going, and there was
like the babies kept going and going.
I mean, there was refuge in audacity, there was funniness within the sickness, but it was just a subject matter of baby pee. That's not the only one. That's just the one that stands out of my mind, the baby pee. But some of the gags did fall a little bit flat, and there's something near the end of the movie that's basically a glorified kids don't try this at home disclaimer, but that's not what I wanted to complain about. A lot of people would.
I'm going to complain about it. Thanks for reminding me.
But it's something that you didn't even need to see the disclaimer to notice that some of that stuff, it looked pretty hokey. Like some of the things they did, one trick in particular that involved physical contact, human to human, that looked really off, and you could really notice that. But most of the gags were done very well, and it kind of took me off my groove every time I saw that certain type of contact. You'd have to see the disclaimer at the end to get what I'm talking about. The only other thing that kind of nerfed me a little was at the very end, a friend of the Three Stooges, he said he'd do something for them, and that never really materializes around the end of the movie. But like I said, there was a 70-30 ratio. The 70% always wins out, and for the gags, and the other thing with the friend is a nitpick, so they're not really that bad.
Blue?
Well, pretty much, there was a lull sort of in the movie. There was kind of like what Backlash indicated. There was a lot of gags that were just in place because they just wanted to do the whole Three Stooges thing. Even though, after a while you kind of just saw gag after gag after gag after gag, some of which repeated, and some of which, So, there was a point where I actually fell asleep, okay? Wasn't my intention, just kind of happened. So, during that period of lull, I wish there was something that they could have maybe kept my attention a little bit more. But overall, I mean, it wasn't like a big thing. It was more of a nitpick thing. Maybe if I got more rest the night before, it would have been different. But overall, I kind of judge some movies by my fall asleep factor. And sort of in the middle, I did kind of nod off. But after I woke back up, it was not without being, I kept my attention a little bit better.
Finally, as I wrap this bad up, I didn't like how at the very end of the whole film they tacked on this "do not try this at home" kids thing with the two supposed Farley brothers, who are not in fact the Farley brothers. I knew something was up because I swear I never saw the Farley brothers ever in life, but the two dudes were clearly like some sort of male models and like movie star actors from darn cells, and I was pleading that something funny would happen to them, like the Three Stooges would show up and beat the crap out of them or something.
Don't curse. Don't curse me out for this if I get this wrong, but Wikipedia says one of them was Antonio Sabato Jr.
I don't know who that is.
Is that the one with no shirt?
I think that's the one with the shirt.
Yeah, the one with no shirt was really hot. I really like that. I mean,
Of course.
Hey, toward the end of the movie, as I was saying, sort of kind of during the middle, kind of fell asleep. Well, at the end, I kind of knew it was wrapping up, and it was like, okay, it's time to go. But we always seem to hang around and watch the credits. And we always get pleasantly surprised with some kind of little bonus feature at the end. Well, I love the little singing at the end. The one song was a Stevie Wonder number, but it was done by the Three Stooges and Jennifer Hudson. That was really cool. But I also did like the dude with no shirt telling the kids not to do this home. And if nothing else made it for me in the way of eye candy in this comedic movie, that surely was a 60-second little plus that just added so much to the movie for me.
Look, all I gotta say is that kids are not that stupid, and even if they are, that's what they got parents for, to tell them, now little Jimmy, don't hit your sister with that ball-peen hammer.
Actually, no, I think you give kids way too much credit. A lot of kids will do exactly that. They'll go.
We never did. I'll tell you, you ask our mother, she'll tell you that we never smacked ourselves in the head with anvils and crap, even though we watched Tom and Jerry, we watched Batman and Superman. I never fashioned myself some sort of batarang and threw it at my brother's head.
Actually, I will have to give your mom a call because I kind of don't think you had the Three Stooges around when you guys were coming up. Had you? You probably.
But we had Tom and Jerry, and that's just as bad.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, that back in the day when Three Stooges were around, there was a whole lot of that kind of mimicking going on.
That was just dumb. But two things. I can understand why they would use actors, because backers told me the Farley brothers weren't the most attractive individuals, so they got movie handsome guy stand-ins to do that sort of thing.
Guy with no shirt. I never noticed the other guy, but the guy with no shirt was definitely someone to...
The other guy was Tony Stark handsome, see. That's the way I would put it. But I can understand why they did that, because all through the movie, we had hot femme fatale just walking around with the dress, man. That was a beautiful sight to see.
Swimming suit scenes where, fall in with all clothes on and float for a while, and I'm not going to say what floated, okay?
All right, played by...
you can continue, but all I gotta say, I'll kill for her anytime.
The femme fatale was played by Sofia Vergara, by the way. So if you've watched Modern Family or a nice little gem called Knights of Prosperity, that's where she's from.
Now, one more thing before we wrap up. I want to just add that I thought was kind of sad is that I saw at the very end of the credits, at the beginning of the end, it indicated "in loving memory of Jesse," and I didn't know who that was, and so we looked into that. Backlash, maybe you can.
Yeah. In February 12th of this year, I believe, Bobby Farley's son, Jesse Farley, he died of an alleged drug overdose. So the Farley brothers and the crew of the movie dedicated this film to him.
Pretty sad, too. He was like 20.
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd mention that.
It's too bad for what happened to her, and our hearts and Prayers go to the Farley family at this time. But let's get to the rating, people. I give this a pass. Again, I wish they would have gone more with the comedy and less with the plot. Oddest thing to say, but there you go. I wish the villain was a bit more villainous. And, you know, the thing at the end, kind of stupid. But, you know, the song number at the tail end of the credits made up for it, so.
If there was more Baby P, I wouldn't be giving this rank. But there was funniness within the Baby P, and there was a little less Baby P. Okay, enough about Baby P.
Thank you, because that is
All right.
rank. Dun, 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 dun.
As for Sofia Vergara's minion, her boy Friday, I thought it was funny that he was the fourth Stooge, and you know you just kept on saying when he was spitting in the wind, air quotes, spitting in the wind. It's like, don't spit in the wind, don't spit in the wind. And you just kept on pushing it. It's just it got a good laugh out of me. Not all the gags worked. Not all the gags worked, but honestly, that's more or less a glorified nitpick. There was enough that worked, and so I do have to give it a pass as well. It was well worth my time and money.
Well, actually, thanks, Backlash. I think for me, overall, for the fact that I really didn't want to go to see the movie, thought I would really be bored, saw the acting and thoroughly enjoyed the actors and their rendition. I thought it was great. Plot for me was just a little kind of, you know, it's been done over and over again and just different spin on it. So I kind of fell asleep in the middle, but I give it a pass nonetheless because I think overall it was thoroughly entertaining, and I did like the fact that they had so many great cameos and everybody did a great job with their cameo. And Larry David, I am a fan of his, Curb Your Enthusiasm fame, Seinfeld, but I actually did think he did a great job in his performance. So all things being said, it was a pass. I think people will find it entertaining. Definitely get the kids. That's something that the family can actually go see, as opposed to, you know, the kids go to this movie and you and your wife or you and your hubby go to that movie. You actually take the family out. So for that, I give it a pass and you know, a little thumbs up just for that.
Yep, I mean, I agree. This is genuinely a family movie where everyone can sit through and have a good time. There's people old enough to remember the Three Stooges and laugh at them. There's people slightly less older that will always who are probably fans of the Farley Brothers or know about the reputation. And then you got the kids. It was geared towards kids. So there's things I've already mentioned like 5,000 times that I won't mention again. But for the most part, there's nothing overtly offensive. It's not good, clean fun, but it's slapstick. It's hilarity. You could get a lot of this stuff on a Saturday morning cartoon now and again, so it's not really that offensive for kids. It's truly a family film.
I saw more than a few kids laughing at that theater we're in, so they must have liked it.
I think so. And a special message to all producers of movie and film and television and stage. It's always a great idea to have an actor with his shirt off at the very end for the ladies.
Yeah, go skin.
Yay.
But let's wrap this up, shall we? Because I got a hot bucket with my name on it. This is Boss Bronze.
This is True Backlash.
And Blue.
Signing out.
Bye.
Bye-bye.